$100 bills are officially useless at Gate C. I watched it happen yesterday at O'Hare. A 75-year-old grandmother, clutching a crisp Benjamin Franklin, was begging a gate agent for a bottle of water. She didn't have Apple Pay. She didn't have the airline's app downloaded. And because of a silent policy shift sweeping through U.S. terminals in 2026, she was told, "Sorry, we're a contactless zone." She wasn't just thirsty. She was stranded in a system that no longer recognizes the currency she's used for 7 decades. You think this is just about buying snacks? Think again. This is about the cashless corridor rule, a de facto mandate that airlines and airport authorities have rolled out under the radar. And if you, or your parents, are flying this year, you are walking into a trap. Look, I've spent the last 15 years in the belly of the beast. I served as an operations director for 2 major international hubs. I've sat in the boardroom meetings where they decided that cash handling costs too much money. I've reviewed the 2026 strategic memos that label cash-paying passengers as high-friction travelers. I'm not reading this off a blog. I used to write the policies. And what I'm seeing now isn't just efficiency. It's exclusion. Here is the reality on the ground in 2026. We were promised a seamless travel experience. Biometrics. Facial recognition. Walk-through security. But here is the secret they kept quiet. To achieve seamless, they had to eliminate the variable that slows everything down: physical money. As of January 2026, over 40% of major U.S. airport vendors, restaurants, duty-free, and even those little newsstands, have gone 100% cashless. But it gets worse. International carriers operating out of U.S. hubs are moving to digital-only operational models. What does that mean? Baggage fees? Card or app only? Seat upgrades at the gate? Digital wallet only? Onboard food? Pre-order via app only? If you show up with a wallet full of cash and a debit card that you haven't authorized for international travel, you are stuck. Now, you might be asking, Kaka, why now? Why is 2026 the tipping point? It's not just about germs or speed. It's about AI. The industry calls it agentic commerce. The airlines are betting big on AI agents booking your travel, buying your meals, and handling your upgrades automatically. The terrifying part: these AI systems cannot interface with a dollar bill. So, to make the AI work, they have to purge the analog systems. They are designing airports for software, not for seniors. I spoke to a colleague in flight ops last week. He told me that agent-assisted check-in, talking to a human, is being intentionally throttled. The lines are designed to be longer. The kiosks are designed to be confusing if you don't scan a QR code. They are forcing you into the digital funnel. Let me paint the picture of what stranded looks like in 2026, because it's not what you think. It's not sleeping on a bench. It's digital invisibility. Imagine your dad is flying from Dallas to London. His phone dies. Or maybe he just forgets his Apple ID password. In 2020, he could pull out a credit card or cash and solve the problem. In 2026? He can't access his boarding pass. He can't buy a charger. He can't even pay for the lounge to get help. He effectively ceases to exist in the airport's operating system. I know this sounds dystopian, but stick with me. There is a workaround. There is a legal loophole that you can use to force them to accept your money, and there is a specific red card strategy I teach my private clients to ensure they never get ghosted by an airline's algorithm. But before we get to the solution, you need to understand the 3 specific checkpoints where this rule is doing the most damage right now. You think the problem is just paying for a sandwich? I wish it was that simple. If you don't understand the logistics of a 2026 airport, you are walking into a buzzsaw. The system isn't just going digital, it is actively purging analog processes. After analyzing 200+ passenger complaints from last month alone, I've isolated the 3 checkpoints of failure where seniors are getting stranded right now. Checkpoint 1. The ghost counter. It starts the second you walk through the sliding doors. In the old days, you walked up to a counter, handed over your ID, and got a printed boarding pass. That counter is gone. Airlines have moved to what we call lobby reoptimization. That's corporate speak for removing humans. Now, you have banks of kiosks. And here is the trap: the app wall. If you try to check a bag at many budget carriers now, the kiosk doesn't just ask for a credit card. It demands you scan a QR code from the airline's specific app to verify your digital ID. If your dad doesn't have the app? Or if his phone is running an old OS that can't update it? He is blocked. He has to find the one floating agent managing 50 kiosks. And that agent? They are trained to redirect him back to the screen. I've seen seniors miss flights while standing 10 feet from a working computer because the software literally wouldn't let them proceed without a digital handshake. Checkpoint 2. The reverse ATM ripoff. Let's say you make it through security. You're hungry. You have a $20 bill. You walk into a Hudson News or a Starbucks, and you see the sign, "No cash accepted." But wait. They point you to a machine in the corner. A reverse ATM. Do not touch this machine. It looks helpful. You feed it cash. It spits out a prepaid debit card. Problem solved, right? Wrong. First, the dormancy fees. If you don't spend that money within 92 days, many of these cards start charging a $3.95/month maintenance fee. They bleed your balance to zero. Second, the leftover trap. You put in $20. You spend $14.50 on a sandwich. You now have a card with $5.50 on it that you can't use anywhere else because most registers won't split payments. You are literally donating millions of dollars a year to these vendors in breakage. That's industry slang for money you paid but never used. Checkpoint 3. The dungeon lane. This is the most dangerous one for 2026. TSA is rolling out touchless ID aggressively. If you have the app and the pre-check, you breeze through. If you are a manual verifier, someone using a physical driver's license, you are deprioritized. I clocked this at JFK last week. The digital lane was moving 40 passengers every 10 minutes. The manual lane? 4 passengers. They are intentionally understaffing the analog lanes to nudge you into the digital system. If you arrive 2 hours early like you used to, it's not enough anymore. You need 3 hours if you plan to use a physical ID. So, how do you fight back? You can't stop the technology. But you can hack the bureaucracy. I teach my clients the R.E.D. card strategy. It stands for Rights Enforcement Document. It is not a credit card. It is a physical, laminated card you carry in your pocket that forces the airport staff to switch from algorithm mode to compliance mode. Most gate agents are terrified of one thing: Department of Transportation violations. When you flash the R.E.D. card, you are signaling that you know the specific federal statutes that require them to accommodate you, regardless of their policy. But it gets better. There is a specific phrase, 4 magic words, that you need to print on this card. When you say these words to a supervisor, they are legally required to stop what they are doing and assist you personally. You've seen the problem. The kiosks are walls. The cash is useless. The security line is a trap. Now, let's talk about the weapon I promised you. The airlines are betting that you will get frustrated, give up, and just swipe your credit card to make the problem go away. They are betting on your silence. We are going to give them noise. You don't need to buy the R.E.D. card from me. You can make it at home on a 3x5 index card. Here is exactly what you need to write on it. On the front, write, I am physically present and ready to travel. My inability to interface with your digital kiosk is an accessibility barrier. On the back, write this specific regulation, per 14 CFR Part 382. 151. I am exercising my right to speak with a CRO immediately. This leads us to the 4 magic words. When a gate agent tells your father, sorry, you have to use the app to check in, or we don't print boarding passes anymore, he needs to say these 4 words. Get me a CRO. C.R.O. stands for Complaint Resolution Official. By federal law, every airline operating a flight in the U.S. must have a CRO available, either in person or by phone, at all times. The CRO is not a manager. They are a federally mandated compliance officer trained specifically to resolve disability and accessibility disputes on the spot. Here is the secret the airlines don't want you to know. Digital exclusion creates an accessibility issue. If your eyesight isn't good enough to read the tiny font on the kiosk, or if your arthritis makes it hard to use a touchscreen, that is a physical limitation. If they refuse to help you, they are potentially violating the Air Carrier Access Act. When you ask for a CRO, the clock starts ticking for them. They have to document the incident. They hate doing this paperwork. 99% of the time, the agent will suddenly find a way to print your pass or check your bag manually just to avoid calling the CRO. Finally, let's solve the money problem. Remember those reverse ATM machines I told you to avoid? The ones with the monthly fees? Do not let your parents walk into an airport with just cash. But do not force them to use those predatory machines. The fix: go to a grocery store before the trip. Buy a fixed-fee Visa or MasterCard gift card. Load it with $100. Write airport money on it in Sharpie. Tell them, treat this like cash. When it's gone, it's gone. This bypasses the cashless vendors, it works at the digital kiosks, and it protects their main bank account from being skimmed at a public terminal. They are building a system designed to leave the analog generation behind. They want 2026 to be the year of the silent, automated terminal. But as long as we know the regulations, we can force the system to speak our language. If you want the printable PDF version of the R.E.D. card with the exact DOT statutes to keep in your wallet, I've linked it below. I'm Cost Kaka. I worked in the tower so you don't have to get stuck on the tarmac. Subscribe if you want to know what the cruise lines are planning for 2027. Spoiler: it's worse. Safe travels.